very good morning to you. It is the 5th of November 2025. My name is Anne Odida. A lot is happening in the country. KCAC is ongoing and Dibal is joining me this morning. Good morning. Yes,
morning is broken and I'm glad to have joined you this morning, and thank you for, of course, this opportunity to come, of course, that's the occasion again with you.
Yeah.
The last time we were here was in June.
In June,
yes.
in June.
Yes.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time. And indeed, as you say, a lot is happening as well. And we know the exams are still ongoing. We doggedly follow that. So also the issue of the party politics is ongoing as well. There was a resumption of Parliament yesterday. We shall be doggedly following what is happening as far as the entry of the resumption of Parliament is concerned.
Great. Let's take a look at the local dailies this morning, and we'll start off with Taifa Leo. Wizi bila jasho serikalini.
And this is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. How payroll cartels is milking Kenyans.
All right. Same headline. People Daily, inside the opposition's big split.
This is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Star. Raila's party in turmoil as Ruto deal sparks war.
All right. The Standard, Suluhu's vendetta.
Yes, this is what is on the front page of the Business Daily. Court spares SACCOs from 8.8 billion shillings Cusco write-offs.
And we'll be back to take a look at the local dailies. But meanwhile, the state of the nation.
Yes, just to prime our viewers as well, we shall be analyzing what is happening on the political landscape, state of the nation, and we have panelists with us as well. As I've just teased out earlier, we'll be also keenly looking at what is happening within the political parties front. It is evolving. And this our guest today, we have Fuamba NC Fuamba, who's a political analyst, Josephat Kamanya as well, political analyst, and Robert Alai, who is the MCA of Kilaleshwe, and Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, who is an advocate of the High Court. A very interesting, of course, conversation that I'm looking forward to, just to touch base on what is happening here and also without the borders as well. Tanzania, everyone is really focusing on Suluhu right now as she's trying to shake into place a very fragile, fluid situation that we have in Tanzania. So I think they pick that particular bag from Kenya.
All right.
All right. As far as protest is concerned,
we've
seen the way they can actually shake, you know, the political establishments of a day, going with the storied history of Tanzania, the way they'll normally say, this is a beacon of peace around the East African community.
All right, great. Later on, today being a Wednesday, we'll be talking matters mental health. Dear parent, we're telling you today that your child's mental health matters. And Cheryl Mageni will be here. She's a life coach alongside Dr. Julius Kimani, a counselor, for this particular conversation. Tuvuke border, let's start over in Uganda, and that is yesterday's newspaper, unfortunately. Let's start with the Daily Monitor, then we can come back to the New Vision. Inside the fights before the flood, accountability. And the flood mud from Nakivubo mess is yet to dry, and the wounds it has inflicted on traders are fresh and oozing with effluent. A few months after a public uproar on the channel redevelopment, this newspaper asked the question, when did the rain start beating Uganda? Now, Parliament says it stopped COSAS's investigation into the giveaway of the channel and instead asked the chairperson of sectorial committee on infrastructure to lead a team of 4 members on an oversight visit and and report to the House in 14 days. No report to date. KCCA has also responded to that, and NEMA has also talked about it. They say although the National Environment Management Authority has been accused of greenlighting the works, its executive director told members of Parliament that there were still environmental and social impact studies to be done before the project could be given the go-ahead. They haven't stopped the project. All right, this is in regards to what is happening in Uganda. There's a photo montage of a flooded section of Nakivubo Channel in downtown Kampala, and Hamis Kigundo, the developer of the controversial project. This newspaper covered this gentleman yesterday. He's at the center stage of what is happening in Kampala, Nakivubo area. Other quick headlines here. Why Yumbe erupted in chaos over pork sale on the top strip. Misunderstanding. They say security personnel yesterday were called in to calm down youth in Yumbe district who had started targeting pork joints after a religious leader preached against the consumption of pork in the district. Matters business here.
So someone is having the bacon this morning, right? And the religious leaders are giving other different versions of, regarding pork. It's a very contentious issue.
It is. Cross-shareholding probe could keep Diego's $2 billion deal EABL sale on the ice. This is a daily monitor as far as Uganda is concerned. Let's take a look at the New Vision now.
Right, so on the front page of the New Vision, still in Uganda, tighter rules for school procurement. That is what is a splash this morning on the New Vision. And looking at the flagger there, head teachers to submit quarterly reports. On page 3 is where the story is tucked as well. And Hoima Stadium ready, right, very telling, of course, picture there of a stadium that is ready. And it talks about construction of the Noima Moyo Purpose that is in Kiamiru. If I may read it right there, you can follow the story inside the New Vision. And looking on the teaser on top, let's promote unity for a shared future. This is what First Lady, she's saying there, Jeanette Museveni. And Mama Danny in fever. As New York votes mayor, you can follow the story on page 21 on the international headlines there. And of course, everyone is keeping an eye on the New York mayoral seat, I should say. It's been very contentious, and this is where we want to see how the different parties, Republicans and of course, and the Democrats will really pan out, seeing who can flex their muscle with this particular seat. So is he really poised to take this particular seat? Yes, everyone is keeping their eyes peeled and, of course, keeping out their ears to hear what will be happening on the ground. Still, you can follow the series on why HIV continues to carry a female face on page 2 of the New Vision in Uganda. And Uganda decides, remember, yes, the days are ticking off the calendars as far as the general election is concerned. Museveni concludes TESU campaigns, and this is on story 5 of, or page 5, I should say, of the publication today. And Changulanyi in Simbambule as Muntu enters Lango. Still also him is on the campaign trail as well. And you can follow the story inside the page 14 of the publication today. On Matters Academia, the promise of presidential candidates. That is, you can find the details inside the publication today. And on politics, UPDF to recruit 600 LDUS. The details on page 7 of today's publication. So make sure you grab a copy if it tickles your fancy.
All right. That is as far as Uganda is concerned. Let's cross over to Tanzania. We didn't have newspaper for the better part of last week, the whole of last week, even yesterday. It's back today, of course, due to the internet shutdown. Gazeti la Mwananchi, siku 6 za maumivu na hofu, miji ilivyoachwa na maafa, majeraha, uharibifu mkubwa wa mali, wananchi wasimulia mateso ya njaa na vile mabomu. Kulingana na mtu amenikuliwa hapa anaitwa Oscar Mkudi, anasema tunahitaji kuona watu wanakaa meza moja ili tuwe na maridhiano, tuliponye taifa na tujenge uchumi kwenda mbele, kwani taifa bado lina watu wengi. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 3, 8, 11, 14, 15, 16 and 17. They've given it a very extensive coverage of what was happening in Tanzania. Tamati ya uchaguzi, Samia na Daktari Mwinyi muhula wa pili. Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan na Daktari Hussein Ali Mwinyi, huyo ni wa Zanzibar, wameanza safari ya uongozi kwa muhula wa pili miaka 5 baada ya kuapishwa kufuatia ushindi waliopata kwenye uchaguzi mkuu wa Oktoba tarehe 29 uliohitimishwa kwa vurugu kwa upande wa Tanzania bara. Marais hao waliapishwa kwa nyakati tofauti kule Dodoma na Zanzibari. Kule juu, shughuli Dar zilivyorejea mdogo mdogo, wanasema kwamba baada ya siku 6 za taharuki na kukabiliana na mtindo mpya wa maisha, hatimaye jana wananchi walirejea kazini. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 16. Gazeti la Mwananchi, still in Tanzania.
Yes, The Citizen. This is what is headlining on the front page, picking up the pieces. Tanzania, long admired across Africa as an oasis of calm In a generally troubled region found itself in an unfamiliar territory on October 29th when mayhem unfolded in some parts of the country. Now, as the nation begins to reopen, we examine the impact of the crisis and the difficult road to rebuilding. And you can see the devastation, the aftermath of the protest and the unrest in Tanzania. Our silence was not abandoned or abandonment message to our readers. And you can follow the story on page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, stories and opinion there. And we have Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, the Zambian president, who said, quote unquote, "We know the value of peace, security, and stability." I want to appeal to the people of Tanzania that what you have enjoyed over the years, decades, must be protected at all cost. You cannot try or experiment the opposite. As I've mentioned, you can follow the story inside the publication today, all the way from page 2 to page 7 of the Star of the Citizen this morning.
All right, and they say our silence was not abandonment. That is the message to the readers of the Citizen. Let's take a look at the weather situation this morning across various parts the country, and we start off in Mombasa this morning. It's 25 degrees. It feels like 27. It's a mostly cloudy day in Mombasa, highs of 28 degrees. Precipitation today, 2.8 millimeters. It's raining as we speak. It will go all the way in intervals, 9 a.m. and then from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Let's cross over now to Kisumu. Dibal? In Kisumu, it's 19 degrees. It feels like 24.
It feels like clear with periodic clouds.
Today, yes. Highs of 28 degrees. Precipitation here today, nothing.
Humidity at 84%.
Yes, that's it's hot today, a bit hot. Nakuru, this morning it's 12 degrees. It's a partly cloudy day here as well. Highs of 25 degrees and precipitation in Nakuru, nothing.
Humidity 85. Yeah, a notch higher than what is happening in Kisumu.
Absolutely. In Nyeri, it's 12 degrees, feels like it. Cooling expected over the next 4 days. It's a mostly cloudy day today. Highs of 24 degrees and precipitation in Nyeri. In Nyeri, 0.4 millimeters. All right.
We have humidity at 93 there, so a bit higher than what you've seen in Kisumu and Nakuru.
All right, finally, that's Garissa again. All right, I want us to take a look at weather in Nairobi, because we cannot miss that. Here we have it. It's 16 degrees in Nairobi this morning, feels like 15. It's a mostly cloudy day. Highs of 27 degrees. It's a hot day. Precipitation in Nairobi is 0.0 millimeters. This 27 degrees is just for today. Cooling expected during the weekend. It will drop to 23 degrees. All right, now it's 14 minutes past 6 a.m. Let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi. It's Wednesday. Tuangalie if that hump day will have any effect on the traffic today. Major tributaries to town, as you can see, Muthaiga interchange building up slowly. There's already some red here. And if we look at it very closely, it stretches back to, this is around KCA University thereabout. So yes, Muthaiga interchange building up slowly. This is Thika Road. If we go way back to Kiambu Road, it's clear. So what we're Thika Road as of 6:14 or 6:15, then by 6:30 you'll have traffic in that area. We look at other areas here, other major tributaries to town. Kamukunji area, nothing to show.
There's a bit of a red there in Kamukunji over here.
Yeah, I think this is usual.
Okay.
But these are just, I think, Matatu.
That's Landis Road. I think the roundabout's going to industrial area there.
Yes.
So that is also always a bottleneck.
Absolutely. That area is building up slowly. Jogo Road is clear, is in Matatu 2, just a little bit of yellow. Manyanja Road also some red there, a little bit of snarl up, building up slowly as well. So not much
Excuse me.
with regards to traffic situation. Ngong Road, or Waiyaki Way rather, it's clear as you can see. Nothing to report in this area. This is Wednesday traffic. And as of 15 or 16 minutes past 6 a.m., that's the traffic situation. Let's have the quote of the day. You've got to be in it to win it. Let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. All right, and we start off with the Taifa Leo once again. Wizi bila jasho serikalini. Waziri wa utumishi wa umma amefichua kashfa ambapo watumishi wa umma wanashiriki wizi, njama na matumizi mabaya ya mfumo wa mishahara, ambapo baadhi ya waliotimiza umri wa kustaafu miaka kadhaa iliyopita bado wanalipwa mishahara. Anasema kwamba watumishi watumia vyeti bandia kupandishwa vyeo na vilevile wabadilisha tarehe zao za kuzaliwa. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Other quick headlines here. Kaunti 30 katika hatari kukosa donge. Kaunti hizo ni zile ambazo hazijaanza kutekeleza miradi ya maeneo ya viwanda. Ajifungua pacha walioungana. Pacha hao wa kiume walizaliwa salama kwa usaidizi wa wataalamu hospitali ya Kilifi. Na vilevile ICC yasaka ushahidi Sudan. Gazeti hili linasema kwamba ushahidi unahusiana na mauaji ya halaiki na ubakaji baada ya waasi kutoa mji wa Al-Fashir, Darfur. Kule juu, Kalonzo arai ngome yake isimwaibishe, ambia wafuasi wapigie mwaniaji udiwani wa Wiper asitaniwe. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 3. Na vilevile masuala ya spoti, City wapewa likizo kabla kualika Dortmund FC. Kocha Pep awapa wachezaji wake likizo ya siku moja. That's Taifa Leo this morning.
The Daily Nation, this is what is on the front page of the publication today. How payroll cartel is milking Kenyans. This is just the version of the English version of what we have on the front page of Taifa Leo. And it's all from the Auditor General, who has flagged counties for retaining staff over retirement age, employment fraud, ghost workers, fake academic papers, backdated birth certificates, double allowances and job group manipulation as some of the ways through which rogue public servants and managers are siphoning billions of taxpayers' money every year. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku yesterday said hundreds of civil servants are under investigation over the rampant malpractices. And this story is on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. Nothing new here, truly, because I think we've been focusing on this for the longest time. But maybe with the new CS, we can see some action now taking place. We've always had audits being done, and we have, ghost workers. And this story is well covered for you on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. Still, the tragedy that is ongoing there, landslide search is still on for the missing. And we can see West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin and his Elgeyo Marakwet counterpart Wesley Rotich joining the public during a search for bodies in Murkutu in Kerio Valley, Elgeyo Marakwet County yesterday, while the government has put the death toll at 32. More than 20 people are still missing in the villages that were hit by the deadly landslides last week. The devastation there is just heart-wrenching, just going by the pictures that have been, of course, being through the media. It's now up to state to end varsity strike. That's right. The ball is in their court. And we know WASU is not rowing back as far as the stand is concerned. They want the full amount, that is 7.9 billion shillings salary arrears. You can follow the story on page 7 of the Daily Nation. Looking on the side where their account is set for 70.6 billion shillings boost as MPs strike deal. Counties have won a reprieve after MPs and senators struck a long-awaited deal to unlock 70.6 billion shillings in additional allocations, ending months of wrangling between the two houses over conditional and unconditional grants. You have a story on page 20 of today's publication. Philanthropy, saving children with heart condition is my best trophy, says Arsenal legend Kanu. If you may remember Kanu there, who is now 49, and he underwent a heart operation to correct a faulty aortic valve in 1996 after the defect was discovered during a medical examination as he was completing his transfer from Dutch club Ajax to Italy's Inter Milan. This is on the back page of the publication today, and there is a dispute there why SRC is opposed to judges' proposed retirement packs. If enacted in its current form, the judges' benefits will be fully funded by the government as they are exempt from making contributions to fund their retirement. And you have a story on page 8. And I always wonder why the special treatment to, of course, the judges. Yeah, they're just civil servants as any other. Why do we have this special treatment? And they, of course, they've been seeking very, should I say, exorbitant packs as far as SRC is concerned. This has been in the courts.
All right. The People Daily, inside the opposition's big split, 2027 cracks, and this story has been covered on page 4. Talks about Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, George Natembeya, Fred Matiang'i, Martha Karua, and a new addition, Mukhisa Kitui, inside the opposition's big split. You can read more about this story on page 4, People and Politics. Raila's death, what it means for Ruto's ties to ODM. That story is on page 5, and I know you're going to talk about it.
Of course, analysis of this. This has been in the offing. People have just been hashing and murmuring about it, but now, yeah, finally it's out. Will that ticket be a game changer as far as the political landscape is concerned?
All right.
A keen look will be done by our analyst much later in the course of the program.
Okay. On the top strip, Luyaland Abaza's Natembeya linked to Kalonzo ticket. This newspaper is still analyzing matters politics as their tagline, People and Politics. The Star.
All right, this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Star today. Raila's party in turmoil as Ruto deals sparks war is a splash. And looking at the flagger on top there, one faction wants government position, protection of party identity as well. And the story is tucked away on page 4 and 5 of the Star. And also, looking at the teaser on top, we have news. Ruto faces new affordable housing headache amid governor's fresh demands. Now the governors, they want 10% of this affordable housing units. So that should be dedicated to the governors because they say, hey, we've actually dedicated parcels of land. Why can't we get a share of this? And can we also get revenues from, you know, some of the operation cost for this particular houses as well? So that is bound also to be bringing some contentious issues as well as far as the affordable housing is concerned. Also, Angels of Light rescued me. And this is the gory story that is just coming from Elgeyo Marakwet with the mudslide survivors. And you can see one of them there. This is lucky escape for Margaret Chepto, a survivor of the Kerio Valley mudslides, recuperating at MTRH, the scene of the tragedy in Elgeyo Marakwet. Rescues, of course, or rescuers evacuate victims using a military chopper in Chesongoch. And you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication today. On the side, short rains peaked this month, while January likely to be hot and dry. That is on page 2 of page 3, I should say, of the Star this morning. And domestic loans mount as the country's debt crosses 12 trillion shillings on mark there. You have the story on page 12. Fred Okango today is focusing on ODM from morning to momentum, ODM's journey towards 2027 win. So with the implosion that has been there, the rift that is forming within ODM as well, is the momentum gained or has it been slowed by the demise of the towering figure of its party, that is the party leader, Right Honorable Raila Odinga? All
right, that's the Star. Fresh, independent, different. Let's take a look at the Standard this morning. Suluhu's vendetta and revenge. Tanzania has unleashed a ruthless crackdown on foreigners innocently accused of stalking post-election violence, with police and soldiers raiding lodgings, tightening borders, and detaining East Africans without cause.
Yes.
Now, the directive issued from police headquarters late Monday has sent shockwaves through the hospitality sector and triggered fear among Kenyans living in the country. This story has been covered on page 6 and 7, and according to this newspaper, it has quoted Samia Suluhu here. And she says, sikushtuka kuona kuna watu waliotoka nchi jirani na kuanza vita humu nchini mwetu. Nitawatafuta kila mmoja wenu na mtajua mimi ndiye amiri jeshi kuu na simba jike. A Kenyan researcher in Tanzania says soldiers stopped us, searched the vehicles, and again asked about our stay in Tanzania. Most of us still had valid 30-day permits, but they claimed foreigners should only stay for a week. They made us sleep on the tarmac, cooked their guns, and pointed them at some of us. It was terrifying. That's the only story covered on the front page of the Standard this morning. Right,
the lioness has spoken. This sounds really threatening coming from her as well. And everyone is saying, hey, are we seeing now the claws really coming out, or the fangs of who she really is as far as, you know, the leadership is concerned? Right, that is the Standard.
Simba jike.
Simba jike.
On the back page, Bellingham finds his feet as Dortmund head to City. Jobe followed in the footsteps of his Real Madrid star brother Jude. Today's match will be his first on English soil for his new club. Finally, Business Daily.
All right, but finally, before we go to the finally, we have also the New Times in Rwanda. If my director may just pick up on this as well, just to show what is happening in Rwanda as well. While Rwanda's micro enterprises struggle to create decent jobs is on the front page of the publication today. MSMEs account for more than 90% of enterprises in Rwanda. The story is on page 3 of the publication today. And Kagame calls for fair, balanced global cooperation. And you can see him here on the lectern there, President Kagame delivering his remark at the Second World Summit for Social Development in Doha, Qatar on Tuesday, November the 4th. Kagame urged world leaders to rethink global cooperation and make social development efforts more inclusive and results-driven, warning that persistent inequalities reflect governance systems that have not kept pace with current challenges. The story is on page 2 of the publication. And on the sidebar, Gishwati, Mukura's restoration boost wildlife uplifts nearby communities on page 4 of the publication. Government to prioritize key export commodities under CFTA implementation. This story on page 5 of the publication. Kigali rain chic, staying stylish when the skies open up. That is on page 16 of the publication today. So this is how it looks. Make sure you grab a copy if it really tickles your fancy. If you're waking up in Rwanda, the New Times is your story. Back home, we can see the Business Daily. Court spares SACCOs from 8.8 billion shillings Cusco write-offs. And of course, there were bugbears and fears around this with the fragmentation of Cusco and the corruption that was thrived there. SASRA's guidelines requiring loss provisions quashed, ruling eases fears of dividend payout freezes or cuts. This story continues on page 2 of the publication today. Just to read an excerpt there, it says savings and credit cooperatives societies have been spared mandatory write-offs of billions of shillings locked in 13.3 billion shillings fraud at Kenya Union of Savings and Credit Cooperatives, putting them at odds with international accounting rules. Right, so maybe someone also will just move to the High Court. The High Court has quashed a guideline from the SACCO Society's regulatory authority that directed the cooperatives to set aside partial funds or provisions to cover the expected loss of billions of shillings worth of deposits and shares at Cusco. And I think that is a surviving line for the SACCOs as well, because this was bound to really affect their bottom line. Looking at what we have on the exchange rate, Treasury reveals shilling undervaluation amid IMF concern. The Treasury yesterday made a stark admission of the shilling being undervalued against the dollar, placing Kenya on a collision course with the International Monetary Fund that advocates a freely traded exchange rate. And you can follow the story on page 2 of the publication today. Let's see, will this also affect the strength of the shilling against the dollar right now with this particular pronouncements as well? And we know also from the governor of a central bank who came also revealing that our shilling is overvalued. Was that true? I don't know. We can read the story on page 2 of the publication today. State settles 93 billion shillings road spending bills with bank loans. The government has settled 93 billion shillings road sector pending bills using bank loans ahead of the issuance of a bond to clear the arrears accumulated in building transport infrastructure. This is all about the economy and is on page 4 of the publication today. Still on the ticker, women's and unpaid work valued at 1.89 trillion shillings. The value of unpaid work done by each Kenyan woman has for the first time been set at 118,845 on average per year, putting the collective worth of the hours spent cooking, cleaning and caring for their families at 1.89 trillion shillings. This is what is unaccounted for. We normally say, hey, you're taking care of the children, the house, but if you actually now put figures into it, this is what it really comes up to, really showing that, women, they're a big, of course, asset as far as GDP is concerned. All right, Kenya Association of Manufacturers warns of trade disruptions on 10th Tanzanian poll. The Kenyan Association of Manufacturers has warned that the post-election disruptions in neighboring Tanzania could threaten trade in East African region. And of course, we saw also a bit of this happening, especially with the food imports that is happening from the Dar port. So since we had that particular disruption, of course, also maybe the food items are going to be rising, the prices going up. That is a publication today.
All right. So the story is making headlines, of course, in the country and regionally as well, and the state of the nation once again. Former NC Fuamba is here, Josephat Kemanya, Robert Halai, and of course, Fanya Mambo Kinuthia.
Yes, you're seeing the soft copy. And of course, I always see the hard copy, which is here. So it's good to see the hard copy. As you see the soft copy, for me, I'll be seeing the hard copy. Some of them we haven't met in a while, but it's good now to see that we've circled back. At least towards the end of the year now, we'll be discussing a lot of issues as far as the state of the nation is concerned. Right.
Great.
And you as well. Dear parents.
Dear parents, your child's mental health matters.
Very important.
We'll be having a life coach, Cheryl Mageni, and of course, Councillor Dr. Julius Kimani for this conversation.
Interesting.
Let's take a look at the caricatures now. Time has gone. This is the People Daily. Trying to dissolve ODM. This is President William Ruto caricatured here. There's a tap and some tubes here. He's trying to arrange this chungwa.
Yes, he's actually in the lab right now. Trying to dissolve ODM, that's the probing question. And everyone is wondering what is the next move now that we have stories about ODM and UDA coalition party in the offing. We've seen also the leader now, the party leader of ODM, that is Senator Oburu, saying, of course, we are gagging for the deputy president, nothing less than that. So we will not actually be compromised as far as that is concerned. But other factions of the party as well, they have different views. So will his political slate of hand work out something that is surprising as far as ODM is concerned? That is from President William Ruto.
This is the star now. Must be the neighboring creatures. This is Samia Suluhu has been caricatured here. Amefinyilia sana wa Tanzania hapa, according to this caricature here. But she's looking at something that looks like, okay, the caricature is there. Yes,
this is must be the neighboring creatures. That is, in a very nuanced way, what Ozone is saying. Hey, the neighboring creatures, of course, who is the neighboring creatures? Who have given this particular stimulation and motivation in Tanzania? Yeah, they've borrowed, of course, a leaf from the neighboring country, which is Kenya at the end of the day.
All right, this is the Daily Nation.
This is what for the victor has drawn today. Juggling the frogs. This is what now President William Ruto is trying to do, making sure that he's keeping everything on an even keel, the economy, the bondo, of course, politics, the 2027 politics, the broad-based government as it is. Also now looking for the Gen Zs, where will they be? The by-elections are upcoming November 27th. We are in that, so we'll be seeing a lot of course, campaigns and making sure the economy is staying steady.
Finally, the Standard. We are in the by-elections as the ODM and not broad-based partners. This looks like the ODM deputy chairperson, Gladys Wange. Anasema hivyo while standing on a wheelbarrow.
Yes, on the wheelbarrow, and of course with the gloves on, ready for a buffet. That is a political buffet that he will be having margarine and all these particular awards that everyone is looking up to Bethini to see that the by-elections, which are very telling of where the country will be heading to as far as the 2027 election is concerned.
All right. So keep interacting with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube. On X at TV47 Digital, we can already see your feedback here. Daktari Yusuf Kenyeji anasema watching live. Morris Werangai anasema wamuchanja, Kabras na wakilisha. Scooby Asosh, how are you? Happy hump day to you all from Nakuru. Morning Cafe TV47, thank you so much. Advice Pastor Emmanuel anasema good morning. Kitengela well represented. Good morning to you. My handle on X is at Ann_Dida.
Yes, at Dibella and Air. It's also my X handle.
The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47. See you after the break.
No more excuses. It's time to rise, grind, and own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Oma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one tear gas. Betty, I don't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Wewe
ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Farika tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Farika is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasukuni.
CP unit ni Punet.
Ni Punet.
Punet.
So you guys knew about
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, hata ungevi the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Ann serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest.
Welcome back. You're watching a Morning Cafe here on TV47, the home of the Untold Stories. And of course, we want to buckle down to a discussion this morning with our panelists who are already here, teased out just at the top of the hour, whom we shall be discussing with, just looking at the political landscape of the day and how it's shaping up, the evolving of the party politics, and we have the resumption of Parliament yesterday, and we saw how also a raft of issues were raised. Key among them also is the Political Parties Act 2024 and what they seek to change, the office of the Registrar of Political Parties. So how will that really pan out? Election of Offences Act as well, that is also bound to be amended. And even as we are heading towards the general election, that is very key, as we can see the very tacky scenario that we have in our political landscape currently. We shall be looking as well at why the voter apathy is still on there. And party politics, as I've mentioned, is very key as we're looking at what is happening on the front of the ODM party, the wrangles inside that is threatening maybe to have the implosion of the party. But what does it really portend as far as the inter-party democracy is concerned? And this is where we want also to indulge you and ask you, what do you think as far as the formation of the ODM party is concerned moving forward? Everyone toying and throwing with different opinions, factions within. What is the ultimate solution, the prime solution as far as being in government and beyond 2027? That is what we want to be looking at. I want just to show you a bit of it before my director just picks up some of his caricatures. I'll just, there's one that is very key and very telling. Let me try and just expand that so that we can have it. Where is the true north? And we can see that is ODM and the UDA, the broad-based government 2027, as you can see it. I wish my panelists could have seen what is the party there. Can you see it, the caricature? Yes. And we have the party leader, who is now the senator of Busia, who is a party leader now. And you can see the arrow is pointing every which way as far as, of course, the direction of ODM is concerned. So which way, ODM? And this is what also is on the front page of the Star today. Raila's party in turmoil as Ruto deal sparks war. One faction wants government position, protection of party identity, and this story is stuck to on page 4 and 5 of the publication today. Allow me just to introduce our panelist. We have with us Fwamba, NC Fwamba, who is a political analyst. Fwamba, good to see you.
Good morning.
Looking sharp.
Thank
you. In the red as well. Josephat Kamanya, good to see you, sir.
Good morning.
Robert Alai, MCA Kileleshwa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, thank you.
And Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, advocate of the High Court.
And Wamunyora
Right. A lawyer, actually. Yeah. Okay, so let's just get a feel and a sense of what has been coloring your opinion lately as far as, first of all, the resumption of Parliament is concerned. And we'll delve deep into these other issues that I've teased out. But let me just begin with you, Josford. Just to begin and find out, everyone has been eagerly waiting to see the resumption of Parliament. A lot has been happening, especially with Elgeyo Marakwet. Now that we have that number ticking up to around 34, and people are still missing, heart-wrenching. We never have seen such a spectre in this country in the longest time ever. Maybe from the Murang'a tragedy, still with the landslide, but I've never had it coming from the rift as well. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Jiba, and to our viewers today. Indeed, it's quite a tragedy to see the extent of loss of life. Granted, it's from a natural calamity, but perhaps we need to up our prediction when it comes to weather. Because remember, Kenya is gifted with various terrain. We have the volcanoes, which have been dormant.
Yes.
I don't know how well we monitor that, because when you see the landslides, this is a sign of natural shifting of the ground, in a manner of speaking. And you see the rains are also coming up. So we need to have a better prediction on our weather. Whatever could come out. Could be the flooding, could be the landslide, could be the volcanic activities. The last time we had an issue at the coast, remember there had to be a barricade for people not to go to the beach. That was good because it saved a lot of people from what could have been potential danger. But I think saving life ought to be optimal and primary for all, everybody that is involved in any duty, civically or just naturally as a Kenyan. We should do our best to try and rescue, protect, and safeguard life in any manner of speaking. Because sometimes the high-octane politics carry the day. And then we forget the most important things. So my sincere condolences to everybody who's lost a family member, and I'm hoping that those who are missing will be found, and that we can try perhaps to protect next time and predict better, because we have Murang'a, and these areas are known. It may not have happened in Marakwet or of late, but if you go back into history, settlement of human beings, there is a reason why it was patterned in a certain way. We even see flooding sometimes just here in Syokimau. And you wonder why there was never human settlement for all those years. But because of human encroachment, also human rural-urban migration, some of these factors come into play, and we find ourselves as humans settling in areas where naturally we should not be, because there are natural forces that we cannot overcome. So it is important that we try to find ways to safeguard, both at the county level and the national level. But I like the whisk response by the government, because it should not matter what area, what political formation those people are seeming to align themselves. When it comes to a natural tragedy, we should all swing into action and try to save lives.
Indeed, so they were actually quick off the mark to try and, of course, swing in and save the day as well, and which the operations is still ongoing. But there is this sentiment, that we're urging now the locals, if you are really affected, and of course this is still oncoming, to move to the higher grounds. And people are wondering, okay, we move to the higher grounds, which higher grounds? You've not given any indication which higher grounds. We always hear this statement, go to a higher grounds, but the government has not really set aside, allocated somewhere. Maybe I could just pose that to Fuambo as well.
Yes, it's unfortunate that we have lost our people in Elgeyo Marakwet due to the natural calamity of landslides, and we send condolences to the families that have been affected. Very key is a kind of response that the government has done, especially through the Minister of the Interior, in trying to address the matter. It is something that is very commendable. And when it comes to issues around encouraging people to get to safer grounds, I think the structures exist, and there are people that are on the ground that are, have duty to ensure that people are well placed to be protected against another calamity that is likely to face them. You mentioned again about the issue of resumption of Parliament, and that sounds very interesting also.
We'll come to it. Okay. Maybe just to get a feel, and of course give an opportunity, a handy opportunity to you to also express your condolences and deepest sympathies for the lives that have been lost.
A very good morning to all of us. I think for me, what has captured my mind briefly the last few days was the meeting of despots in Tanzania. Terrible human beings who went in there to witness the swearing in of Africa's leading dictator. Idi Amin was not this terrible. And you can look at them, they share characters. I saw Hakainde from Zambia. I saw Evariste from Burundi. I understand, it's a very poor country. They had reason to be there. I saw Hassan Sheikh of Somalia. I saw Jessica, the deputy president of Uganda. And I saw our own deputy president, Kindiki. And I understand why he was there. I mean, they presided over a genocide in 2024. He was the minister in charge of interior here. And very many young people died. So for him, he associates with what is happening in Tanzania. But the sad bit is when Kenya goes to rubber stamp such a presidency, and now, as we speak, they are ousting out all Kenyans and saying that they were the ones who were in charge of leading demonstrations in Tanzania. Kenyans are suffering at the hands of Tanzanians there. And our deputy president was there to endorse this kind of presidency. So that for me stands out as one terrible meeting that we shouldn't have attended. The first of its kind in the world, where our president is sworn in inside the military barracks, and our state goes to rubber stamp such a swearing-in ceremony that has now led to very many Kenyans in Tanzania being incarcerated, being caught, being thrown out of Tanzania. There's a lot of inhumane treatment going on for Kenyans out there. And we as a government have rubber-stamped that government, and we are doing nothing about what Kenyans are going through.
So what would you have done, you as maybe the leader of the EAC, as the president is, and you're sending...
You first ignore. I mean, you see...
So you think he's not really acted in the wisest of fashion, sending...
No, it is wrong. It is wrong. You see, this is an East African society. We know that literally what has happened in Tanzania is a genocide. Very many young people have died. The images we are seeing coming from Tanzania are graphic. I mean, what was so wrong? And I had implored the former head of state, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. I think this would have been a good time for us to just hold a dialogue and say, look here, this election can be postponed and held again in January of next year. It's not an emergency for Samia Suluhu to be president of Tanzania. So for us to come and rubber stamp that rubbish, and now that rubbish is leading to our people being mistreated, because that's where I'm coming from. I get a lot of messages and calls from people, and they're saying, look here, what is happening to Kenyans in Tanzania right now is a disaster of magnanimous proportions. How Kenyans are being treated in Tanzania right now, you wouldn't treat a dog at home like that. And we as a government are silent. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is silent. So as you speak about disasters that are happening, Kenyans are going through a holocaust in Tanzania, and something needs to be done. And Samia Suluhu is coming out clearly and saying that she's dealing with foreigners who led to protests in Tanzania. When we saw the protest and the videos we saw of the protests and the kind of Swahili they were speaking and the kind of things they were saying, those were Tanzanians. Mm-hmm. So why Kenyans are being treated to that, and our Kenyan government is quiet here, and they are all reaching out to anybody who they think has a voice to speak out for them, is a terrible place to be.
But don't you think maybe, if I may just butt in and ask you, when using verbiage such as genocide and Holocaust, of course, we're not really undermining any lives that is lost in that particular space. But don't you think that is an hyperbole?
Tell me.
Genocide will be what is happening in Nigeria with the Christians.
No, tell me,
right?
Why would you say you are elected by 31 million people and you don't want them to attend your swearing in? You're saying 31 million people have voted for you. 98, let me tell you, if 98% of Tanzanians had voted for Samia Suluhu, it would have been, that means that in every 10 people, 8 people voted for her. Actually, 9 people voted for her in every 10. The demonstrations would not have happened because it would have been 1 out of 10 going for demonstrations. You're right? You get me? Because if out of 10 people who voted for Samia Suluhu, 9 voted for her and 1 did not vote for her, these 9 who voted for her would have been beating up the one who did not vote for her. But the amount of demonstrations that we saw happening in Tanzania, so then now she's being sworn in a military barracks. What we have a problem with is what our Kenyans are going through at the hands of Tanzanians right now. If you have a Kenyan who is living in Tanzania, check on them. Things are not good for our people, and something needs to be done for them. And this administration doesn't appear to care. They are sending our deputy president there to go and celebrate. that Samia Suluhu is now president, and she's being sworn in a military barracks, and Tanzania is on fire, and bodies are all over the place, and burials are happening even at night. It is not fair, it is not right.
There's so many dynamics that we might look at, you know, as just we've seen from the publication as well, and we know it will adversely affect us. We have a lot of inputs coming from Tanzania as well, when you're talking about the food items as well. We need maybe to have an even keel. Though there is some issues that you raise, very egregious, of course, happening in Tanzania, still in the spirit of the brotherhood, then how do you solve that amicably? And maybe let me hear from Robert Alai, not necessarily on Tanzania, but what is really top on your mind as far as you know, the scenarios are happening around us is concerned. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning so much. Mine is just to focus on the internal issues we have in Kenya. I know Tanzania is my second home, and whatever is happening there, I know is very painful, and sometimes very hard to get the correct version of the truth, because everybody has their own version. Tanzania, I worked there for 8 years. In Kigoma, Mwanza, Arusha, you know, areas like Babati, I'm seeing the stories of Kenyans being stopped and, you know, taken through a very frustrating affair in the Babati region, Singida. But I'd like to say that on Tanzania, it is very hard, and I would urge my brother Kinuthia Afanyamambo to be very careful when you use the word genocide, because, you know, genocide is very specific to the manner which the killing is carried out, and it's either targeting you because of the nationality, ethnicity, you know, religious affiliations, and so on, and it has to be, you know, genocide goes as far as even preventing births, and we have seen it elsewhere, like the Holocaust, Srebrenica, you know, we have seen it recently in Gaza, where the various definitions of the UN and so on have concluded so. But coming back to Kenya, I would like to remind us, you know, the unfortunate situation which is happening in Marakwet, that the landslide, and I think it's because of how we use our land use policy is not sustainable, and it's going to cause a lot. It's happening in my own hometown, in my own home constituency of Nyando, where people are now settling, even, you know, encroaching on riparian land, you know, the lakefront and so on, because we don't have a clear land use policy, and also because of the cultural practices like, you know, building a home. Everybody has to build a home. So you have 10 acres, you subdivide it, it becomes, you know, 5 boys, it becomes 2 acres for each one of them. Everybody's building a home. There's no land now remaining for agricultural use. I think we have to change some of these practices so that we ensure that we have at least settlement schemes. If you fly over Kenya from, let's say, from Kakamega to Tanzania, Mwanza, you'll see how Tanzanians are settled, you know, communal settlement areas. Then there's a big chunk of agricultural land left for plowing, you know, commercial agricultural practices. But in Kenya, small pieces of land, homes everywhere, you see? So, and I think that the government would foresee situations where they know that this area is prone to landslides. It is going to happen. Now the lake, because I think because of the activities on the dam in Ethiopia, the lake in Nyando and Nyakach areas, you'll find that the lake has come back, they overflown with more than 5 kilometers inside. Tens of schools cannot be used for 5-6 years. Nobody's talking about it. You know, it's like we went numb over this issue. I think we need to clearly, at the national and the county level, we need to clearly plan our cities, but also plan our counties. Even the rural areas, we need to plan them. We need to know what is the land use policy. How small can land go? And what, you know, the very smart idea which Wakinafanya Mambo are against the affordable housing. Yes. It is very nice. It's a very nice idea. I think the implementation might differ from, you know, from administration and from person to person, the ways we should implement it. But I think that we need to understand that it's a very smart idea to have people live in a central area. Then you decide that this is going to be agriculture, this is going to be a sports place, this is going to be a market area, this is going, but we cannot have Muguta, 50 by 100.
We will never agree. We will never agree on that one.
By one, no, even the name we can agree on. We can agree on.
No.
What is it? Mogoda?
Maguta. The
Maguta, okay.
Reservation I have with him, and I'll explain it in only 30 seconds, is this. You have a hospital. You walk into the hospital reception, and the reception is crowded. So instead of asking yourself, why is the reception crowded? It's probably because the rooms where the patients are being seen are not efficient. What do? You decide to expand the size of the reception area. The bulk of the people who are in Nairobi are not in Nairobi because they like to be here. Many of them have come here to look for job opportunities. Had we done the right thing, had we even decentralized our industrial parks, had we made sure that some of the things like Bidco, if you look at how they manufacture their cooking oil from here, the bulk of their raw materials are coming from Uganda. Why are they manufacturing in Nairobi, for example? So if we start having a serious conversation, Muhoroni is a serious industrial park. If we start having serious conversations about why not decentralize manufacturing, we cannot be the capital city that is everything, including manufacturing is in this capital city. Most of the countries that you go to, you find that manufacturing is not even in the capital city.
But
so you're here just thinking...
Is Bidco manufacturing in the capital city? No.
It is here in the industrial area.
No.
But
No.
Their offices are here.
Their offices.
That's the offices.
And most of their staff is here.
Is in Kiambu County.
Whatever, the thing is this, the conversation I'm trying to bring to you is, so when you see there's many people in Thika, you want to build houses for those many people in Thika, but they don't even have a relationship with Thika. Every time on Friday, they are going back home. The whole idea should be, if we put manufacturing not necessarily concentrated within our city, what would happen is that people wouldn't have to live here. Then we don't have to build for them houses here. So you are here imagining that the problem is the reception area and you're trying to expand it. The problem is bigger. People came here looking for opportunities, and that's why they found themselves homeless and houseless, and they're living in slums. Now you're trying to increase the houses for them here, and now you're logging Mau Forest to have timber to use in building avoidable housing. I can tell you for free, si walikatakata Ngong Forest yetu. Ngong Forest hakuna kitu hapa, Karura imekuliwa, go visit Karura. And all our forest trees is going into this avoidable housing. In fact, if we stop avoidable housing, logging will stop. Now, why are we cutting down Mau Forest in the disguise of not importing furniture? Na sisi wote tunajua, ukifuata hizo logs, they are going into these terrible houses they are building. Our forests are worth more than the houses we are building. Don't cut down our trees to build houses that we don't need. Tell us names of Kenyans who've received those houses. Kila siku tunauliza, ni akina nani wamepewa hizi nyumba? Wako wapi wajitokeze? Mbona hatuoni? Kenyans akinunua kapikipiki anapiganga selfie na kapikipiki anasema nimenunua pikipiki. Unatafuta Mkenya anakuambia, I have taken 1 unit in Mudhurwa. Isipokuwa wale walifanya kadrama pale. After that, they all live back in the slums. Those houses are vacant. Enda Mudhurwa sahi. You guys go and do an expose. Tell us who is living in those houses. Mukuru kwa jenga here. So, hii drama ndio naambia hatupendi. Ni watu wa maPR na tu drama na tu vitu hatusaidii. Show us a practical Kenyan who will tell us, I took up a house in Mukuru and I live and I'm here and my name is so and so. Hakuna.
All right. Let's just go sequentially.
Afraid of,
I think we're discussing a different issue. Because, we talk about settlement. We talked about settlement. I was just bringing in the affordable housing expansion was a way of, controlled settlement.
Avoidable.
But he has gone full throttle.
I think
on Kenya.
But it cascades to actually what he's saying, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at what is really happening in Elgeyo Marakwet and the landslide, and you connect it also to, the deforestation that is happening, and also the president really now trailing or rowing back to some of his statements that he said before, that we need to be climate conscious of what is happening in the country. We are all aware of the realities that we do have with the climate change. And we remember also this very contentious issue about the Shamba system in the forest as well. And him now rowing back, as just have said, on what he has said earlier about the loggings. For me, I found that really flying in the face of what he really stands for as far as climate change is concerned. And that's why we're having this specter in Elgeyo Marakwet. If we had enough forest cover, just as we know that we are under 10% as a country, I think standing at 8 or 7%, then that should be a niggling worry for the president.
Even away from the president, because that is our major issue as a country, Everything starts with the policy level. And perhaps before we come to the policy level, also you need to look at the situation, a looming situation along Lake Naivasha, because as Robert says, Lake Victoria is kind of filling up. Lake Naivasha also, there is something that is happening. It's going to, people have to move. So the climatic changes that are happening, we need to revise our policies. But I think the core issue is how we handle devolution. If we advance devolution, the county integrated development processing parks will decentralize industrialization. We will have people move from the cities. I attach myself closely to sentiments of Fanyamambo that this housing scheme is totally avoidable housing scheme, in my opinion. Because Alai will agree with me that we need zoning. The area that he represents, he is having a litany of litigation around people who do not want to have the terrain of the Kilimani-Lavington changed to these high-rise buildings that are coming up. And I do agree we need a zoning system as a country, because you cannot have each and every area as a residential area. Indeed. And some of these areas used to be agricultural land. Some of these areas need to be riparian land that has to be well preserved, because they are the breathing necks and mouth and noses of our water basins. So when you don't advance devolution, you have people moving and now encroaching, and you are densely populated. And then you come up with these fake schemes of housing, which are totally avoidable, that do not solve our problem. They do not provide a solution to the housing crisis in the capital city. If the government had approached the slums, and I would want to agree, let's go to Mukuru and see where the houses have been built, how many slums, shanties were there on that particular piece of land that were demolished. They put up new residences, and the old occupants were moved into new occupants. Zero. They are taking new virgin land. Just look at Makongeni. There is a crisis coming up. They want to remove the old, what you used to call city council houses, and build new houses. Yet you have a shanty a few kilometers behind there. If you really want to transform the terrain of our country, the lookout of our nation, of our city, you go to the slums, take acres of land, talk to the owners of the land. If it's government land, build houses, replace those houses, and move those people. And that is what Ethiopia has done. Ethiopia does not ask people to contribute to these avoidable housing scheme. The government has taken charge, and they give people units, and you pay mortgage. If you go to South Africa, the zoning is well controlled. They have residential, they have commercial, and they have there are in-betweens. So we must advance our zoning policy, we must advance our devolution. But further from that, allow me to comment on the issue of Tanzania. My saddest bit is that we have an organ called the African Union that has a whole charter, talks about democracy, election, and governance. As my colleagues are saying, we had a few heads of state and their representatives who appeared in the swearing-in of Mama Suluhu, somewhere in a forest. I hear now it was a military base. But it was far from the populace of Tanzania. My question is, what will the African Union do? Are they going to endorse the election of Mama Suluhu? We have a crisis in Sudan. What is the African Union doing? They need to stop playing to the external forces that are here infiltrating our governance as a continent. Because Africa is our business. An injustice anywhere in Africa is an injustice everywhere. We cannot say, because I have friends and family in Tanzania, so I have to be worried. Some of us have other business interests in other countries. So when we see an injustice happening in Africa, and we know the finals are coming in 2027 here in Kenya, we have to be concerned. So I want to call the African Union to order. I would want to see an official statement, because if they are not performing in the interest of us as Africans, then we have no business there. Secondly, we have the East African community. Some of our members, actually some of our sitting MPs in the East African Parliament, the IALA, they were acting as the oversight committee of the election in Tanzania. We would want to hear an official statement, because these issues cannot be left and swept under the carpet. You know, it's a bomb, it's a ticking time bomb. So we have to make sure that our organs are working. We cannot sit back and say, you know, Tanzania, we have no business there. They are our neighbors, they have their own constitution. No, We share platforms, IALA, we share the East African Community, and we share the African Union. Those organs must be called to order by all Africans so that we can begin to liberate our continent. And the moment we start that journey, country by country, we are going to have a flourishing country, a flourishing continent. So I would want to see comments from that front.
Right, but you mentioned the AU. I think, will the AU now and the AUC be diametrically different from the statement about that? Because I think we had Mohamed Yusuf, who is now the chair of the AUC, first out of the gate to congratulate Suluhu. So will the African Union, as an, the organ in its entirety now, be diametrically different from what AUC has pronounced?
It is unfortunate that the president of Tanzania made a very sad declaration that there are foreigners who had infiltrated the country and they were in charge of the demonstrations. Those things border on triggering xenophobic attacks, which is unfortunate. Previously, during the reign of Nyerere, when Idi Amin was becoming extremely brutal, the communities, the countries in the neighborhood conspired to get rid of Amin. But currently we have enough structures to take care of situations like the one that is in Tanzania, and I think the African Union should take up the responsibility of ensuring that there is peace in Tanzania. And there's also embracing of democracy, because what happened through the electoral process was not expressive of what democracy really stands for.
Yes.
Therefore, the African Union should not have been so fast in sending congratulations to Madam Suluhu, and should have instead encouraged the kind of negotiations that should take place between the protagonists in the election. I also want to identify with the sentiments of President William Ruto over the Tanzania issue, because even when he congratulated the president of Tanzania, he encouraged the coming together of different political players to ensure that there is peace and the safeguarding of human rights within the country. So I think African countries should be very concerned, because whatever happens to your neighbor is likely to spill over to your place. And every time I look at what is happening in these neighboring countries, I appreciate the kind of space that Kenya occupies as far as democracy is concerned. One thing that we have always taken for granted is the kind of establishment that we have, especially after we had this Constitution of Kenya 2010, that is very progressive. It has guided us that Kenya has been so much entrenched in terms of institutional strength that we address most of our issues through institutions. So it will be encouraged that all other leaders from different parts of Africa agree that every country embraces a dynamic and progressive way of running their democracy. This is also comparable to what is happening in Sudan.
Yes.
I do not think if African heads of state should stay back and keep watching the real genocide that is happening in Sudan. Unlike Tanzania, where we are speculating, it is very clear that whatever is happening in Sudan is unacceptable and is going to the level of genocide. So I think African Union should be very serious, and the person who was elected to head it should also be proactive in reaching out in these countries.
Right, Fanyamambo, I think I find it a bit consternating that we have a law which is like for the mid and the passions in Tanzania, that you cannot really challenge this particular pronouncement by the NEC, through the courts. That's what you pronounce, that's it. So we don't have, the wiggle room for you to freely swing your cart like we do here in this country to go to the courts and challenge that particular election. So what has been pronounced, that's it.
Kanu was there, and they've learned very tough lessons. In this country, let me tell you, I'm glad he mentioned the genocide in Sudan, and I wish he never did, because you cannot speak about the genocide in Sudan without speaking about KICC, and without speaking about what RSF was doing here. We are thoroughly ashamed as a country to have been seen close to those people, completely, totally ashamed. And we cannot distance ourselves from what is happening in Sudan, because we have been seen with those people. And it is a bad place to be as a nation. And now lives are being lost left, right, and center. So all I can say is, as we behave as a country, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs needs to go on factory reset. Remove anybody there who is doing guesswork and ask ourselves, don't we have, and I believe Kenya has got very good people in terms of in terms of foreign affairs. People who studied it, people who understand diplomatic relations, people who understand what Kenya should be doing. Remove some of these career civil servants who are there and doing all the wrong things, and start saying Kenya needs to look good in the face of the earth and across the region. Now, we are saying that what happened in Tanzania is something that could happen anywhere. But I'll tell you, it doesn't have to happen anywhere. The problem we are having is leaders who come and commit atrocious crimes against their own people, and then they wonder why those people are going on the streets. We passed a privatization bill when we were mourning Raila Amolo Odinga. And immediately, we started privatizing beaches, and I mean beach with a B-E, not B-I. Which beach is making losses? Why are we privatizing beaches? Yani the seller has become the buyer. And then, when people go on the streets and say, you are stealing from us as a country, you say that we need to have a conversation, we need to be responsible about what? You're the one who is leading us there. Kenyans don't go on the streets because they want to be on the streets. They go on the streets because the leaders who are occupying public offices are doing terrible things. Raila Amolo Odinga, may he rest in peace. He knows I campaigned for him, and he knows I've always said good things about Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila Amolo Odinga fought for the Mau. Literally, he lost political favor in the Rift Valley because of the Mau. On the day he's being laid to rest, we are busy opening up the Mau for deforestation. Is that how we honor him? What is the use of giving Raila Amolo Odinga a state funeral, and then the things that he fought for, we come and commit diabolical crimes like logging the Mau? You set a whole day and say Kenyans are supposed to plant tree. Sasa sisi tunapanda miti hapa, and somebody has a power saw cutting down everything that nature gave us for free, and we are supposed to be comfortable with that. And then Kenyans goes to the streets, and then you say, Sisi, we are abusing our democratic space. We just have a leadership that is insensitive. We cannot all wake up and waste a working day planting trees, and then someone makes a declaration as if the forests belong to him, that we can start cutting down our forests, and we are supposed to be okay with it. So it is not us who are going to demonstrate. It is not us who are disrespecting the Constitution. It is the leadership that is doing insensitive things. My MP, KJ, John KJ Kiarie, heads a committee on communication. They are the people who allegedly are supposed to have been collecting views about this communications bill and cybercrimes, whatever that they are passing. And one of the things that they wanted really is what is happening in Tanzania. They wanted to give the government a switch. I don't know where that switch is going to be, where they can switch off, leo tumezima alai, kesho tumewasha. Sahi tumzime 2 hours, kesho kutwa tumemwakisha. And we are supposed to be comfortable with that. The only space we have left right now to vent is social media. When you close that, when you come up with a bill that tries to ensure that people cannot express themselves, what you are doing is you are giving them the only other left option, which is to go to the streets. That's a draconian bill, and I'm happy that Section 6 of it has been suspended by the courts for some time, and I hope it's going to be suspended permanently. So what we are telling this administration, there were other more important pressing matters, like university lecturers being away for 6 months from teaching. And then we have people giving 50 million to churches in the name of Harambes. We have someone going on a development of a Western tour development and promising 20 billion. Because of our involvement in Sudan, Sudan literally said that they're not going to buy tea from us. Kenya lost 5 billion worth of earnings from tea, specifically for the Sudanese market. Alafu tunaenda World Bank kukopa 5 billion ya kupatia youth nyota program. Watu. Why are you borrowing 5 billion from World Bank to come and give young people as Nyota program, well, you have killed a channel that was giving us 5 billion from tea revenues in Sudan? I sometimes sit here, nyinyi munapatia State House 12 billion. I wish there was a parliamentarian here. That's what you are allocating to State House. And then this State House is going to World Bank to borrow 5 billion to come and empower young people. And they are saying they are going to give 100,000 people 50,000 shillings each. Now contrast that with what is given to a loss-making outfit called State House, 12 billion. If this 5 billion can touch 100,000 youth, 12 billion would touch 240,000 of them at 50,000 each. Why don't we give to the youth these 12 billion and borrow money to run the loss-making outfit that is State House? So it is the priorities that this administration that has that are wrong, that are causing people to go to the streets. And then they are saying we are mad. We are not. In fact, we hate the streets. We don't want to go there. We have lost lives. We have seen bloodshed. Tumepromisiwa risasi ya miguu. We don't want to be there. But why can't you, for God's sake, why can't you come up with policies that are pro-people? Things that are aimed at improving the lives of our people and not making them harder. That is the only reason. So as we speak, you tend to think that watu opposition ni wabaya. We love this country. We wish we never had to go to the streets. But when you wake up and decide that you can make a decision, hata hizi nyumba, they are built on public land. Watu wamekatwa mishahara yao. Pesa zimekatwa za payslip za watu. Then we've given one person power to decide, you're a good footballer, you get a house. You're a good athlete, you get a house. I've not heard you're a good teacher, you get a house, yet teachers wanadidaktiwa hii pesa. So we are thoroughly, completely and totally, and most finally, angalia kwetu Dagoretti South. That river that comes from Nyongara huko juu, coming all the way down, inafika Ruai sewage. They've decided they are cleaning up Nairobi River. Oh, they are cleaning it up. And now they've discovered all of a sudden that they can change the riparian land to 60 meters. Kwetu Dagoretti wanataka wachukue 60 meters, 60 meters. And then, now what is annoying us is ikifika kileleshwa kwa huyu wanasahau. Hawajui kupima 60 meters, ile futi kamba walikuwa wanatumia imepotea. Wakifika Lavington hawajui kupima, wamesahau. Lakini wakiteremka Isili kwa maskini, wakiteremka Kayole kwa maskini, wanajua kupima 60, hata wanaweza extend ikuwe 70. What is sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. Kama unataka kupima 60 meters, anza na Lavington, anza na Kileleshwa, ukikuja kwetu Dagoretti tutakubali. But then they tell you that you are not supposed to build on riparian land, but they want to kick you out from the houses that we have afforded. And it's ancestral land. And then they want to come and build now their avoidable housing. So when my house was on riparian, it was bad. But when government builds a house on that riparian land, it is good.
All right.
And they want us to keep quiet.
Okay. Let's get a rejoinder maybe from Robert Alai can tell us. Yeah.
You know, I'm starting to get worried that you are giving a lot of airtime to, and because you know we are very polished fellows and we don't like to shout over each other, and we. The unfortunate bit is that who is speaking, and I can tell you because he started from Tanzania, mpaka Dagoretti South, and
a bit of Kileleshwa,
a bit of Kileleshwa, a sprinkle of Kileleshwa. I can tell you for a fact that the Tanzanian level of democracy is way ahead of us.
Is it?
Because you know we imagine, and I think the citizens of this country, Kenya, sometimes they even imagine that the average Kenyan can be the president or can be the most senior corporate leader in Tanzania just because of the fact that they speak good English. And I see the Kenyans lording over Tanzanians there, but I can tell you that the model of democracy and level of citizen awareness and even governance in Tanzania is way ahead of us. The
shutting down of the internet, the clapping down of opposition leaders.
You know, everybody has their own measure of how they want to be governed. And they have their own set of laws, and they have what works for them. You know, sometimes we imagine that because we have freedoms, North Korea doesn't have internet. You know, there was a lady who was riding from, I think, from Netherlands to Afghanistan. And all the time when she saw those Talibans, she used to complain, Taliban. And she stops the video and complain, Taliban. I said, this is their country. These are the people who govern them. This is how they want to be governed. The Americans was here. They were here for how many years? They were not able to convince those people that they wanted that model of American governance. The people have decided that this is how they want to interact. The Kenyan model of democracy, where somebody suddenly becomes holier because of the ethnic interest, people see that the current government, because it doesn't align to the ethnic interest of the previous government, is suddenly an evil government.
Yes.
While the policies of the current government is milder. In fact, the people who are lining up as united opposition did worse.
Yes.
And these people have never united. These people don't even know from end to end how the Kenya looks like. They don't even know the face. If you tell them today to have a government, they'll tell you that this government must have people based on their shareholding. These are the same people lecturing you. Anakuambia kwamba unajua, today, this person is doing wrong. Affordable housing, massacres. These people did the worst massacre. You know, sometimes you remind people about massacres in this country. Then you remind them that who is in that team called the United Opposition. If you mention those individuals by name, they have done worse for this country. Raila suddenly became a hero just because he's dead. If Raila was alive today, he would be used as a scarecrow to make people fear of him getting near leadership. Or the time they only supported him because they knew this guy was just a one heartbeat away from death. So we bring him back to power, he'll be dead in 2 years, and we come back to power. You know, some of these things you see people parroting and say that, oh, we are supporting this policy, that I shudder. I can tell you I've lived in Tanzania. The Ujamaa level of awareness, you know, apart from the fact that we speak good English, there's nothing. They plant better, they run their industries better, they manage their resources better. In fact, Magufuli, apart from the high-handedness, today, people are blaming Mama Suluhu Samia. But I don't blame I think it's a systemic issue. It's a whole independent system which the CCM inherited, and they have perfected to benefit a few of them. You see? And I find problems with that. But I don't blame any individuals. I think that Tanzanians have to decide, what do they want good for them? And how do they want to? Because today you can remove, see, Walitoa Magufuli. They say Magufuli was the worst person. They have two presidents who are living. There's the current president who is in power, and there's the former president, Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. We have just left Mzee Mwinyi, just died the other day, and also Mkapa died a few years ago. You see? But I can tell you for a fact, why is Kikwete comfortable with the system? Because he knows that's what works for them. We might not like it, but we are not Tanzanians. Tanzania has a border with their own set of laws, with their own system of governance. You see? So unless we bring in the AU to give us direction, is this good or bad, or the UN, the global institutions, we as individuals, Kenyans, cannot decide that, no, now we cross the border, we change the government in Tanzania, we demonstrate, we push them out because we don't like how they're treating their citizens. No, that's not how things work. You know, we have devolution here. Nyeri knows if they want more industries, Muranga knows they want to better their industries, Kisumu knows what do they want good for them. You see? But if we are going to load over, we get social media. You know, the people are crying most about the social media in Tanzania. I've spoken to people, 5, 6 people. In fact, one yesterday made a lot of noise to me. These are Kenyans I worked with. These are Tanzanians I worked with in Kigoma. And they made a lot of noise. They told me, what do you want us to do as Tanzanians? We like what is happening. Tell the opposition to look for other means. We supported them, but they were not able to succeed. Tell them to stand down. Now we want to go on with our lives.
But Talai, right? Just a moment. Let's just go sequentially so that we can hear from Kamanya as well. I don't know if you want to comment on that, or we change the dial, because I think also time is really ticking away from us.
It's just that it's a weighty issue. That's why it's taking a lot of time, and I agree, because it's touching on governance across humanity. But just that today we are discussing Tanzania. But what I find a bit disturbing with my fellow Robert is that Alai himself is struggling with his own governor, just a subsection of our country. He has an issue with the leadership of the county of Nairobi, which I agree. And he needs to advance changes that are necessary as a county assembly. But having such issue and then stepping away from that and trying to defend the regime, this regime, which has been rendered illegitimate by Kenyans, is somehow a doublespeak on, according to me. We must stand firm on principle. that we are well led by this constitution. If anybody attempts to avert, to launch an affront on our constitution, be it an MCA, a governor, an MP, a senate, or a president of this country, then we as citizens have the civic duty of stepping up and calling them out. So when I see people trying to assume political formations and defend the regime depending on where they sit, then that dilutes the essence of the principle of our constitution. Therefore, one, the united coalition of the deputies is not the opposition that this regime is facing. The real opposition that the regime is facing are us Kenyans, who are disgruntled by the leadership, the policies, including the bill on communication and many others that they are trying to advance. And that we will not relent. Whether they form new coalitions or not, we Kenyans will stand firm on calling for the rule of law, advancement of justice, tax justice, because we cannot continue paying taxes and the services are not commensurate. We cannot continue borrowing and increasing our odious debt, where then we are left with a heavy burden from our revenue collection. We are financing our taxes with over 70%, and then we have very little for development. And then on the other hand, we are trying to raise money for these shisha, affordable housing, avoidable housing projects that are not really revamping our economy. We have to agree and stand on principle that the problem we have is poor leadership, bad governance as a country called Kenya. Then, when you cross over to our neighbors, because you asked the question, when they have these laws, Tanzania, that you cannot challenge the final decision of the Chebukati, in quote, what happens? To me, that is silencing of the voice of dissent, and that is nothing short of dictatorship. Because if you're talking about governance, here we are having a political discourse. We should be able to agree and disagree. You should be able to challenge the outcome, the process, because an election has various elements that you look at for it to be credible. You have to look at the irregularities therein and the legality of it. If any of those things are not fully satisfied, then an interested person, any citizen, it could be a political person or just a civilian, must have the opportunity to raise that question and ask, since you are my employee as a president, even here in Kenya, President Ruto is my #1 employee, I pay him, we pay him. Why are you not comfortable with me checking how you came into being my servant? That is the question Tanzanians, and as much as we respect their autonomy, they should have that space. Furthermore, I take you back to the AU. The African Union has a whole checklist on what a credible election ought to look like. There are those irreducible bare minimums, you know. It has to be free and fair. There has to be a process that is a legal process, a legal framework. There has to be freedom of association so that you can have various political parties coming into play. When that is not satisfied, then the outcome of that election is purely illegitimate. So these are the issues I'm saying. On principle, we have to stand and say, what really do we want to see? Not just for Kenya, not just for Nairobi, not just for Dagoretti South, but for us as the humans of Africa, because Africa is our interest. Much as the only upper hand we have on making changes is Kenya, because that's where we are all domiciled as Kenyans. But I want to implore on my colleagues that we cannot allow the myopic political formations that are existing in our country to blind the ambitions we have for having a better country, a better economy.
Why would you call it myopic?
Because, I mean, everything now is being clustered around the 2027 election. But nobody is coming to say, how are we going to transform our country? People are just trying to look at numbers, juggle numbers, you know. They keep trying to evoke the name of the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who is going to inherit ODM. Why? For re-election of 2027. But we have between now and then, what happens to the continuation of our odious debt? Is Robert Alai telling us that he's comfortable with what the Communication Commission did last time in switching off? Because remember, they had an attempt when we had the demonstrations. Is that something we can defend as Kenyans? No. That's an affront on our constitution and freedom of expression as Kenyans. So what I'm saying it's myopic because it's purely political, and our issue is economical and development. That's where the conversations need to reside.
So we're not really out of the woods yet when it comes also to us being blacked out, so to speak, if I'm using that corrupt English, that, you know, the Communications Authority can actually now give, you know, an order to all the TV stations that now you don't cover what is happening on the streets if they are protests. And we've seen that happening before. it's their right to do that. So in the provisions of what you're talking about, democracy, that you can have someone really challenging even what Suluhu is doing, that is the epitome of democracy. So how then do we curb such a scenario happening also in this country, where we have now this particular, what you call it, a draconian bill? Yeah, they have the sole right, the NC4, to try and, clamp down on websites that they deem to be, steamrolling some of this vicious, maybe vitriol also on social media.
Before I get to that, I would like to point out that if you embark on fault finding, you'll find a problem in everything. You realize that issues that are being raised by the so-called united opposition, I call it so-called because I know it's not united, it's disjointed, it has no common objective, it's just focused on trying to, this agenda it's called one term or something like that. If you look at the kind of agenda that is being pursued, they are finding fault in the same things that they used to defend when they were in positions of convenience. How would I believe that this affordable housing is a wrong project if when Rigathi Gachagua was deputy president was defending it, and today when he's been impeached, he's against it so viciously? There's also one other member of that united opposition called Governor Natembeya, the one of Trans Nzoia. There's nothing that is so tangible on the ground that is to his name since he became governor. Because immediately became governor, he focused on getting to the national level and started something called the Tower Movement. So there's nothing that is to be held accountable for in terms of results as far as what he was elected to do is concerned. And that is a common pattern among so many people within the opposition. So on the issue of the Cyber Crimes Act, the Amendment Act.
Not solely on it, really, but you can comment on it, yes.
Yes. Whatever has come out is for the protection of the general populace, because they are talking about phishing, which was not factored in the 2018 Act. And then there's also the SIM swapping. For example, there are people who usually talk about mulot. They are protecting Kenyans. So the law is protecting Kenyans against being swindled, because those things have been happening a lot in the country. So we need to look at the positive aspects of every law. And again, the law is made by the members of parliament. These members of parliament are elected by the people. So these are our laws. The president only comes in when he's approving the law so that it becomes part of what is supposed to guide us. So we cannot personalize these things and focus on one individual and say, maybe the president is using a strong hand or even being high-handed in terms of passing laws that have already been taken through the processes that are entrenched within our constitution.
Right, thank you. Very interesting editorial cartoon that we do have in the People Daily, maybe just to segue into our discussion also of the ODM party politics and the evolving party politics scenario that we do have generally. If Madaraka will just pick up this, trying to dissolve ODM, and you can see there, he is in the laboratory, so to speak. The oranges are actually in the test tubes, and this is what is generally happening currently as far as ODM is concerned. Raila's party in turmoil as Ruto deal sparks war. I just want you to comment on what is happening within ODM as it stands. We had also the party leader saying we're not going below anything other than the deputy president's slot. That's, of course, with the new formation that will be happening. If we will be in broad-based government, and you can see there's a toing and froing on these particular two factions, if we are in it or we are out of it. But if we're in it, nothing below deputy president.
Have you ever been to a church where people are speaking in tongues? Most of the times you don't understand what one person is saying and what the other one is saying, but they all say they are praying. ODM is speaking in tongues, and they are speaking in different volumes, and they are speaking at different times, and they are saying things that sometimes to us are not. But I usually look at that word in the middle, D. Maybe it stands for democracy. So maybe there's democracy within the party. I mean, I want to allow them to go through their own processes internally and to be able to agree or disagree. For us, we are waiting on this side. Whatever the outcome of what happens in ODM really is, it's their biashara, it's their party. I respect the far they've come from. I respect what they do. Let them fight. If they are fighting, let them agree. If they are agreeing, they'll come and tell us the results. As long as they don't kill one another inside their house, we are okay. For me, anything that takes away one vote from William Ruto is welcome. If by ODM not standing together, William Ruto is going to lose, I'm happy. In fact, if that's what is going to make him lose more votes, that's okay. The only problem we have is anything that makes William Ruto gain more votes in 2027. So if he's going to lose votes by anything that happens that makes him lose votes is a happy place for us, because there's a common national psyche and we are all geared towards making William Ruto a one-term president. And sometimes he was mentioned something about that sometimes when this media bill was supposed to be there, I mean the communications bill, so that sometimes we are able to switch off demonstrations. What is worse? Us watching on TV a president signing a loan of say 100 billion from China, or us watching demonstrations. If we have demonstrations, we lose 2 billion a day. If we have a president signing a loan from China and we're watching on TV, we are literally watching 100 billion going away. When we are watching news being covered and we are being told Shah is losing 104 billion, yesterday we were being told on the news that we are losing 11 billion on e-citizen. Haijulikani kwa wapi na hakuna mtu ameshikwa na hakuna shida. Kenya is supposed to move on. So for us, that news of, losing 11 billion, in fact, that's when we need to switch off the internet. We lose more in times of peace when these people are seated in office than when we go to demonstrations. Because from the stroke of a pen, e-citizen loses 11 billion, and it is okay, and we are supposed to clap for them, and we are not supposed to ask questions. So for us telling us that this is supposed to protect them, from what? In fact, the nation, it gets a more serious stab when we have peace. Now, he spoke something about the united opposition and said that we have no agenda, anything, I don't know what. I usually tell these people, number one, we are going through a divorce, okay? When you're going through a divorce, it is wrong for somebody to come and ask you, who are you going to marry next? Right now, I don't care about who I'm going to marry next. What I care about is I know the husband I don't want, and I know the wife I don't want. This is an abusive husband. He's killed some of the children. He's done so many things. So right now, we are at a different stage. As the united opposition, we know the husband we don't want. If we had been cheating, then we would have automatically had a replacement. So keep telling us, oh, who are you going to replace William Ruto with? We don't know. Right now, we are going through a divorce. And when you are going through a divorce, the most important thing is to know the husband we don't want. And that's the first step towards healing. So we know the husband we don't want, it starts there. And then you take time. We have a whole 1.5, in fact, 22 months to the next election. Within 22 months, we shall have decided who is the new husband. But at least it starts from knowing the one you don't want. I don't have to stay with an abusive husband because I don't have a replacement for him. I don't have to stay with a husband who is stealing away from me because I don't know. I don't have to stay with a husband who is cheating on me because I don't know who I'm going to marry next. The first thing is to go through a proper separation and divorce. And that's what we are going through. We are divorcing ourselves from this UDA administration. Now, as to who we shall marry next, we will tell you. But you can't find someone who is going through a divorce process in court.
But I thought you already bolted and divorced already.
No,
you're still
it's a
filing
process
papers in court.
Let me tell you, have you ever seen...
I thought it was a done process.
My friend, let me tell you. Have you ever found a divorce that happened within a day? All divorce proceedings take 6 months, sometimes to a year. No. And that's what we are going through. So, now,
since you've been divorced,
finally,
until now, I mean,
finally, let me tell you.
It seems there is a big real estate now that has to now be determined.
No.
With the long due process that actually this divorce is taking.
Here.
But I wanted to ask you, even if you go down that particular lane, of course we can see there is a lot of formation that is happening. Even from the germinal idea that we were going to be having Kalonzo, Natembeya ticket, we have Matiang'i in the mix. He's been now, confirmed as a new deputy party leader of Jubilee. Yeah. So I wanted just you to talk on this because for the longest time this was just rumors and murmurs that we had that there could be this particular ticket. And Natembeya was biding his time because he thinks that he has a good chance, him returning as a governor of Tanzania, as opposed to now being the deputy president. So are they reading, something diametrically different from their templates?
Matiang'i, he has very many enemies. And some of his closest enemies are very near him and he doesn't know. I was a member of the Jubilee Party for a very long time. Please, Matiang'i, ake ukota na mawakili tu wa kusaidia uende usome constitution ya Jubilee. The Jubilee constitution says that the flag bearer for the presidential ticket of the Jubilee Party is going to be the party leader. what have they made Matiang'i? Deputy party leader. So automatically he doesn't qualify to be Jubilee's presidential candidate. He has so many lawyers, but they don't advise him. Sasa huku amepata to parrot. Para, Matiang'i, para, president, para. But you have been boxed. In fact, right now, the only chance that Matiang'i has is to find a way to negotiate with the United Opposition to come as a Jubilee-sponsored person so that he gets a chance within the United Opposition. Not unless Jubilee plans to change their constitution. They have fixed Matiang'i. And I don't know why they didn't do that simple reading of the Jubilee constitution to understand that he's been put in a place that doesn't give him an opportunity to vie as the presidential candidate for Jubilee.
Thank you. Let's hear from Robert Alai on that particular development. I don't know what you're reading as well.
I think the issues of the political parties, especially the ODM, and I don't know what united opposition is because it doesn't have the head, tail.
So you don't care if you don't want to... Yes.
I think they are on a self-destructive mode, and I don't think that they are going far. I don't even think they'll even get even 10% of the votes in Kenya. I think for the first time, even some people imagine that, and I'm saying this with a lot of respect for the leaders, even if I disagree with them, that I don't think that they even inspire their backyards. They are used for, emotional satisfaction, like toys, playthings, a ball to kick around, a juala, I don't believe that these people take them seriously. And I still believe that even in central Kenya, William Ruto will get at least 45% of the votes.
Where?
When people shout like that is when I realize.
So we are surprised.
But what metrics are you using to get that 45%?
No, just my understanding of the Kenyan politics, because central Kenya, the backyards, which are going to be depended on by the united opposition to get the votes, knows what they need to succeed in life, and they know the value and the role of the government in their lives. I don't think that they are going to play the ping-pongs with the... If I was the deputy president, the level of Gachagua, even me, I would have done much better. There's no...
Tell us about your Kindiki.
There was nobody who was more frustrated in government. Even by some of us, he was not only frustrated in government, but even us in the opposition didn't give him space like William Ruto. But he endured all that and became the president. There are some times when you sacrifice your own ego and ambitions, and when you saw the exchange, and some people, I think people try to ignore whatever happened at the airport, and the last time the president, the move to impeach Gachagua started when the president was in the US. You remember? And if people would take time and watch the clip from the airport when the president was departing, you will see that something was wrong at that airport event. You will see that the body language was showing something which was different about the leaders. I think people were throwing tantrums, and I don't know what the two of them, said. But I can tell you for a fact that he showed the character of Rigathi Gachagua as somebody who doesn't have foresight and doesn't have clear planning. And you can see even from his words, from his actions, and the fact that he still sticks. He wants to be Gachagua. When before the impeachment, people were very uncomfortable with William Ruto. Even us in the opposition were very uncomfortable with him because of the policies they were, and the fact that this was the regime which almost killed Baba Raila Amolo Odinga during the demonstrations of 2023. Gachagua had the best chance. When we were with him in Migori, in Siaya, in Kisumu, had the best chance to convince us that he's a national leader. This guy chose his own backyard of Nyeri over the nation. He has never been accepted in Kiambu. He has never been accepted in Murang'a. He has never been accepted even in Nyandarua. He is majorly accepted in Nyeri. I wish that Gachagua would know better. But coming back to our political party, ODM, people say that we have a lot of differences and camps and formations. I can tell you that there are only two schools of thoughts, and they're just school of thoughts. Just like Baba went to prison for 9 years and told her that, I'm fighting for your rights. To disagree strongly, but at the end of the day, come and sit on the same table and, be one person. And we still disagree strongly that there are things we would allow Baba to do. We would allow Baba to give us ultimatums, we would allow Baba to stroke tonguely and, and intimidate and even coerce sometimes the government. The character of these leaders who are now leading ODM, even the supporters of ODM still don't know them. So we have agreed that with William Ruto, we want to change the way of engagement here. nobody is going to intimidate the president for us to gain anything more. Because I'm seeing a good number of them, the leaders at the top, they are saying that we must be given the deputy president. The deputy president cannot be given to you on intimidations, because that's what Gachagua did. He intimidated the president into giving him the deputy presidency. When he got the deputy president, he started blackmailing the president. Anybody intimidating the president outside will intimidate the president inside. And it means that we will not last in the position as ODM. So if anybody wants to be made the deputy president, he must be humble. He must to come with no conditions. You can also be given the.
So that should be the discretion of the president.
No. The discretion of the president. We are not going to allow the chance for us to intimidate the president to give us any deputy.
So are you insinuating that your party leader is out of order in making this demand?
Yeah,
because I can see also here you're being quoted that Kilelesha MCA Robert Alai also slammed with the acting party leader for. That's what they've said, for placing demands before the party decides on backing.
Yes, we didn't support this government, and this government has given us some ministries and some PS positions. Yes. And I think that we need to be very careful when we make demands when we have not shown any kind of support to the current regime. And I think it's very unfair, even for me as a regime. If these demands were being made, I would rather go back to convince Gachagua, the devil I know, instead of working with this angel.
But is it demands what have been made so far?
There's something he said that
can we go sequentially? I'll come to you. Okay. So that at least I give us
Dibal, I just want to also answer Kamanya. When you talked about me and Sakaja, but you need to realize that you can chew gum and still work at the same time. I can still hold Sakaja to account and still handle the issues of the regional politics or the national politics at the same time. So that's the only, fair point I wanted to tell him on my comment on the national politics, even when we.
You're chewing gum and working at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Multitasking.
I think of significance is to realize that one, the united opposition of the coalition of the deputies, they say they're in a divorce, but I think they are getting, in a manner of speaking, under so many bodies to get over the year X. And we don't know how that will end up. I don't see them producing a presidential candidate because one, the leader of the DCP stands impeached as of today. And as of this constitution, he cannot run for any office. Two, the leader of the Jubilee Party is violating our own constitution again, because the Retirement Benefits Act stipulates very clearly that upon leaving office, you cannot be the leader of a political party 6 months after. Now, we are way beyond 6 months, and he's still the leader of the Jubilee Party. It is there in law. So they need to put their houses in order. And as for the ODM joining government, the broad-based, and they found comfort in saying that they could go ahead and support or find a working mechanism between themselves and UDA.
That's the art of negotiation, I think. You need to make your demands just as
which is fine. You need to up your value so that the other person can see why should they onboard you, and I agree with that. I'll leave them to discuss their internal issues. But I think they need to put the interest of the spirit of the ODM party first. It was a party that was about the people, for the people, and it has advanced agitation against so many regimes. The one fault I've found constantly with the ODM party is that they've always ended up forming a merger, a coalition, a broad-based handshake. And they denied us, as Kenyans, in my opinion, an opportunity to have a regime get into office and serve a whole term and see how they would have functioned. So I'm really looking forward to 2027, whereby we, the people, will have a presidential candidate. People keep talking about the current regime and the united coalition of the deputies as if they are the only political formations and fraternities we have. That's not correct. We, the people, are going to have a candidate. There are so many presidential aspirants that have come up. Boniface Mwangi is one of them. Jimmy Wanjigi is another on the Safina party. We have Maraga. We have then the incumbent.
Ruben Kigame.
As well. So there are so many. And we are going to evaluate and assess everybody who comes, what is your manifesto, what is your agenda, and how do we now coalesce as a people, as political parties, and then form the next regime. So we need to advance that conversation and have a lot of political tolerance, because the ideas will be divergent, but we must agree to disagree. At the end of the day, the will of the people must prevail.
Okay, well, with the ODM in Azmio, and ODM through the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, joint government, the broad-based government. So technically, from that time up to the time we'll be getting to the elections, they'll be beneficiaries of the arrangement of the government as it is. And it's really say that you cannot have your cake and eat it. So ODM cannot escape from the fact that they are part of the government and they are supposed to work together with the President Ruto, even getting into the re-election, because this is an arrangement where they have been benefiting. But again, I want to explain from my own understanding the demands by the party leader, Dr. Oburu Odinga. I think that's a way of also encouraging the members of ODM to feel that they are fighting for higher stakes as they get into the coalition with the UDA. So I do not find any problem with him demanding the position of the deputy president, because almost everybody is trying to demand that. I saw some people from Western who are fronting Honorable Musalia Mudavadi to be the deputy president come 2027. And then there is also the incumbent, Professor Kindiki. So it's a matter of competition, and that's what politics is all about. If you look at 2007, it is strongly believed that, many people believe that Right Honorable Raila Odinga won the election. They disputed the 2007 elections. And if you look at the matrix that the President Ruto is using right now, it appears extremely difficult for him to be defeated in the coming election of 2027. Because if he consolidates the original base of ODM as it was in 2007, then he has a very high chance of winning. If you saw in the Pentagon, they were with the Mudavadi, Raila Odinga, William Ruto, and Joe Nyaga and Balala, the last two being some form of flower girls, but they still managed to get a lot of votes. So if Western Rift Valley and Nyanza are properly consolidated, the president already has a very serious headway. And given that there is no strong contender from Mount Kenya, there's a very high likelihood that he'll still get a good percentage from Mount Kenya and other regions.
The 45%.
To be more than, possibly that 45%. To be more than what Raila got in 2007 in terms of percentages. So there's no likelihood that this disjointed opposition will manage to maneuver and get even a single candidate. I'm not seeing a situation by somebody like Rigathi Gachagua will be working with Matiang'i under one roof.
So are you insinuating that Kalonzo Musyoka is not a formidable candidate?
He may be a formidable candidate, but the odds against the whole arrangement of united opposition is quite interesting. You see, even in Western, I've mentioned Natembeya, who is being projected now by newspapers, whether sponsored headlines or otherwise, as the supposed running mate of Kalonzo Musyoka, has nothing on the ground. He does not have a following. He just got overexcited, made a lot of noise everywhere to escape responsibility in his county and project himself as a national leader. I think he's afraid of losing the election in 2027 because he has not delivered as governor.
Thank you.
So he's trying to project himself as a national leader.
Yeah. Fanya Mambo, you briefly,
I'll start with
give our closing remarks. Yes.
Yeah, very quickly. I'll start with him and tell him Article 36 of our Constitution allows President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to do whatever he wants and form associations and be part of any political party that he wants. The fact that the Retirement Benefit Act takes away from him, then it becomes unconstitutional to the extent of the inconsistency. Because anything that takes away from you what was given to you by the Constitution then becomes unconstitutional to the extent of that inconsistency. So Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, look at Obama. When Obama left office, he came out, he campaigned for Joe Biden, he finished, he came out, he also campaigned for Kamala Harris. He was completely and totally involved in the campaigns of Kamala Harris. So you cannot stop a retired president using a stupid Retirement Benefits Act from participating in his democratic rights that are granted by the Constitution in Article 36. President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, feel free to do anything, to campaign for anybody you want. If that happens in the US, retired presidents campaign for the people they want to campaign for.
And the Constitution supersedes the Act.
Of course. Now, secondly, it was him. You see, Robert Alai has been speaking here about Rigathi Gachagua all the time. Is Rigathi Gachagua the person in charge of the abductions that are happening right now? Is he the one who is supporting Museveni, who is butchering Kenyans and we don't know where they are? Is he the one who is the reason why we have university strikes going for 6 months right now and teachers not being paid? Is he the one who is presiding over 11 billion that is being stolen through the e-citizen? Is he the one who has brought this university funding model that is not paying money to school? Is he the one who is refusing to give capitation to school? Is he the one who is bribing the youth through this Nyota program? Is he the one who has done all the above? All I'm trying to tell you is this. The problem we have in this country is that president of yours called William Ruto that you're supporting. Can you face the problem? Stop looking for people to blame for the things that William Ruto is not doing right. William Ruto is the president right now. If students are home for 6 months, stop blaming Rigathi Gachagua for students being at home for 6 months. Stop blaming Kalonzo. Stop blaming the opposition. Deal with your president that you are supporting. In fact, you are complicit to our students being at home for 6 months because you are supporting a government that is dishing out money kiholela holela and our students at home. Finally, we need to wind up. You are telling us here, that William Ruto is...
Everyone is on the firing line.
Yes. You need to understand one thing, that the person that William Ruto is vying against is not Kalonzo, is not all those people you're seeing in the university, in the united opposition. William Ruto is vying against abductions. William Ruto is vying against university funding model. He's vying against a share that is not working. He's vying against bribing the youth through Nyota program. He's vying against avoidable housing. Tell me anybody who's been deducted money from avoidable housing that is going to vote for William Ruto. He's vying against his own bad manners. He's vying against privatization of beaches.
Thank you.
So tell me someone who will wake up and vote for William Ruto. It is not the candidate. In fact, we always say, hata tukichukua hii mobile phone versus William Ruto, prepare for your excellency the mobile phone.
Political narrative.
Yes.
All right, let's get to our closing remarks, beginning with you, Kamanya, very briefly, 30 seconds.
Yeah, just a quick one. You know, campaigning for a candidate is different from holding office. So we need to not mislead the former president. He can campaign, but he cannot hold office of a political party. That is constitutional. But over and above, I just want to call for the rule of law. And I hope the matter of TZ, African Union, will intervene. Us as Kenyans, we continue advancing for calling on good governance. That's a bare minimum.
Thank you. Right. Baba.
In Kenya, we are still in 2025. By 2027, a lot of realignments will have been done, and that's when we'll be able to be so sure that the president is going to win. Because right now, there is a lot of rhetoric about what is not being done or what is being done wrong. But when it gets to when the rubber meets the road, that's when people realize that it's not as easy as they think.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kenyans refuse to listen to anybody who tells you there's a problem between this tribe and this tribe, and anybody who's trying to bring about any tribal divisions so that people can vote as tribe. This time around, we know our unifying factor is William Ruto. There's only one person we have a problem with in this country, and we shall remove him through the ballot, not through any other means.
Robert, alive finally.
Thank you so much. You know, I am very happy to hear that William Ruto is the uniting factor, and I think he's going to win the elections. We need to worry when we can self-critique. The fact that united opposition members and leaders see nothing wrong with themselves is very wrong for me. You see, as in ODM, we say took on a problem. And we are going to differ with these people on the principle. That one cannot happen in united opposition because they are like a cultic movement, and the cultic movements are what NC4 is going to fight against. It's not going to fight against democratic spaces, freedom of expression. It's not going to fight. It is going to be the cultic movement in...
The terrorism and the cultism.
Yes, it is very specific. Anybody who is not a terrorist and is not a cult, don't worry about switching off the website.
Like RSF.
Well, you've been painted in a very dark corner there, the united opposition, but we end it there. I think I've really enjoyed this particular conversation. What a treat. I wish we had more time to cover a lot of ground as well. We've not even talked about the resumption of parliament, very key, the Political Parties Act 2024, very key, and election offences. But I want to thank you profoundly for actually coming up and showing up this morning and engaging in a very cogent conversation. Thank you so very much, each of you. Thank you for your value company as well. You've been watching The Morning Cafe. Don't go away. Much more coming up with Anne Odida on the other side of the break.